The idea of sport as a profitable business was revealed when ESPN Star Sports launched their channel operations in India. In this episode, Ujjwal discloses the winning techniques she fielded, those that changed the game for the Indian sports industry.
There was a lot of organization design work that I got to do when I joined ESPN in 1999. The business was small, it was very new, the brand had just entered the country, right? And we were about 35 of us. The broadcasting industry was at its nascent stages in India. So although there was a lot of excitement around media and broadcasting, everything was very new. So there was very little experience. Either in terms of how an organization should function in that field, or even in terms of talent. And I remember that the first thing I had to do was work very closely with the CEO to actually build a management team, a leadership team for ESPN Star Sports. Now, on one side, it was quite challenging because there was not enough talent in the sports marketing field in India. So we had to actually go and look outside the industry to get skills which were complementary to our business. Now, every time, we would interview somebody, people would be excited because ESPN is an extremely vibrant and energetic brand. So that worked in our favor. However, a lot of people were in well-established jobs with getting great salaries, great bonuses, very well-structured packages, which were very competitive in the market, and ESPN was not there. So talking to them with a lot of conviction and transferring that conviction and confidence onto them, was a big part of my job. So we started with building a management team, which was extremely committed, very passionate about the brand. So we had to set a goal and a very clear vision as to where we wanted to take ESPN in the next 3 to 5 years' time. And together as a team, we did that. We had to then make sure that people got compensated in the right way. There were bonus programs which were actually inspiring and exciting. Again, there were no benchmarks in the industry. And we still wanted to be competitive. Budgets were scarce. And we prioritized the promotion of the brand right on top, and everything else was at the back end, right? And that worked well for us as well. So again, coming back on the talent management side, we put together a performance management program. We had the right titles in place. We had organization structures. We had reward programs so that people started feeling they're working in a process-driven, structured organization. And we saw a little bit of a disconnect with some of our older colleagues at that point in time. And to make sure that they were equally engaged as the newcomers, we started getting them involved in a lot of projects which were very relevant to the business, whether it was new offices, whether it was new infrastructure, whether it was designing the way the office should be or should look like. And people who were very passionate about the brand, who had launched the brand, they can feel the brand, right? And some of these projects got them re-engaged and felt that they were again in the driver's seat. And then we also wanted to make sure that our talent grew not only through training that we were locally doing, but there's a lot of learning that you can get from existing resources within the whole group. So we set up a production center, which was headed by our expatriates. And that made a lot of difference as well, because our staff started feeling that, there's a lot that you can learn from people who have done it much better and are more advanced in some other parts of the world. The other thing which we had done was that we put a very aggressive target for ourselves, right? And even though it was year one, a lot of people cautioned us, even Singaporeans, saying that this is overly ambitious. When people are put, in a situation and you feel that, you are committed to a target or a goal, sometimes you really surprise yourselves by stretching yourself. There were also times when, budgets were an issue. because as you know, in any organization, this is like a vicious circle, right? So you always get caught in it. We did prioritize, and we said that, look, most of our budgets should actually be used to promote the brand. And there were initial few years where bonuses were low, right, and compensation levels were not that high as the industry was paying, but we had a very committed and passionate lot of people working behind the brand, right? And that paid off in a big way. We had to learn to operate in a very ambiguous environment and still confidently move on. So that was one of my key learning. The brand being so strong it was driving the business. So even when we looked at a lot of promotional activities on the ground with our cable operators or our affiliates, like we would call them, there was a lot of the strength of the brand pulled us through. So I remember the Australian team had come to India to play a match, and it was an India-Australia match in Mumbai. And we wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. So what we did was, at the back of that, we did a quiz of the Indian cricketers and the Australian cricketers. So we would do that. We would leverage a lot of either cricketers or sports personalities coming in, and at the back of that we would do an event, either for the advertisers or just on the ground, and make sure that that boosted the brand in the country. So the team from 30 to 35 started growing, and I think year one we were close to about 100 people. By the time I left the business, we were about close to 250 people. It was a very well-established organization. People, programs, and processes were there. And from a time where I had joined, when there was a scarcity of talent, and we had to really, convince people and depend only on the strength of the brand. By the time I left, we were actually, in our space, in the broadcasting industry, an employer of choice.